Hi, welcome to Vegetables Day 45. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. So, today was day 2 of the Truth About Weight Loss Summit, hosted by Chef AJ. And, I did take some notes again today. I did watch a lot of it mostly live. I had to pause and do stuff, but most of it was done live. So, I can give you some takeaways here in just a few minutes. But first I wanted to go ahead and go over, my daily check-in. Weight-wise, I weighed myself about 3 o'clock. And I was 239.2. I was ecstatic. Absolutely ecstatic that in the middle of the day and I was under 240. So, I guess in a way, I kind of met that goal because I wanted to be under 240 throughout the day before the end of the week. So then the goal this week will be to keep under 240. And then as long as I stay under 240 for the whole week, then I can work on the next goal of getting under 235. As far as what I ate, no out to eat food again today. And Scott and I had a very long discussion about how we're going to get healthy and lose weight. And where we wanted to start. I know we tried the no bread thing and didn't really have much success at it. So our new goal is not going to have a timeline per se, but it is to eliminate all out to eat food. Now that relies heavily on me because I'm the one who does all of the shopping. I'm the one that runs all the errands. I'm the one that places orders online. So if we're to be successful at this, it relies on me to have the willpower to say no and to make sure that I have enough energy at the end of the day to make dinner. Because it's usually sometimes, I very rarely do we go out at lunchtime unless I'm out and about. And it's easy to say no for that. But most of the times when we have out to eat food, it's for dinner because at the end of the day, I'm just tired. So that for us to meet that goal of no out to eat food, that's going to rely, mostly on my shoulders. So I'm going to have to stay strong, and we've gone 2 days, and I just hope that, I can continue to be strong. As far as what I did eat today, for breakfast I had peaches and cream oatmeal. I sweetened it with, the maple syrup, and put coconut milk on it. And then when I was at the store, I did buy me some whole wheat bread. So I had 2 pieces of toast with the plant butter. I call it plant butter because it's not dairy butter and it's not margarine. So that's what it's called on the package, is plant butter. So I'm going to call it plant butter, even though it sounds weird. But then for lunch, all I had was 2 slices of DiGiorno cheese pizza. No, it wasn't the greatest lunch. But the good part was that I only had 2 slices. Normally when Scott and I would cook pizza for lunch, he would have half and I would have half. Oh, sorry, it was 3 slices. So instead of the 4 slices, instead of the half a pizza, I had 3/8 of the pizza. So, cutting back, learning to eat less. That's a step in the right direction. And then I did not have any snacks today. None whatsoever. For dinner, we had whole wheat spaghetti with meat sauce. Now, when I say meat sauce, it is open a jar and add browned ground beef. And I had picked up 2 different sauces, jarred sauces. They're both Classico. One was the tomato and sweet basil, and the other one was roasted garlic. So the choice as far as what sauce to use was based on how many calories per serving and how many grams of sugar per serving. So Scott and I both chose the roasted garlic because it was lower in calories and lower in carbohydrates, and it did not have any added sugars, where the tomato sweet basil did have some added sugar. So that's the other thing that we're going, and that's all I've had to eat today. But that's what we've decided that we're going to do. Is I know deep down inside in my heart, especially after watching 2 days of the Better Life Summit, or the Truth About Weight Loss Summit, excuse me. After watching 2 days, I know that the best, healthiest way to eat in today's world is a whole foods, plant-based diet. But I can't do it cold turkey, and Scott doesn't want to do it cold turkey. And the reason for that is, partially because of what they talked about yesterday about having withdrawal. When Scott quit smoking, it was probably 29 years ago. 29, 30 years ago, he quit smoking. He quit cold turkey. And the withdrawal lasted for months. And it was really, really difficult of a time in our marriage. And he's, quite frankly, says, I don't want to put you through that again. So we're going to take it a little slower. We're going to, the first step is to get rid of the fast food. The second step is going to be for me to learn to cook with less or no oil, and less or no salt, and less or no sugar. So tonight's choice was, that there's no added oil. The only fat we had was in the hamburger or the ground beef. There's a little bit of oil in, no, there isn't. Get and a little bit of oil in the sauce, I believe. But I didn't add anything, and we chose the sauce that had less sugar in it. So, just little baby steps, and hopefully we'll be able to incorporate more vegetables into our diet on a daily basis and weekly basis, and start to wean out the animal products and the salt, oil, and sugar. I just have to stay the course as the cook in the house. I have to stay the course, and I just need to try different recipes and find, recipes that we like. Recipes we don't like, forget about them, bitch them. I keep a 3-ring binder of recipes I printed off the internet that I've made and we really enjoy. So I'll just keep continuing to do that. As far as the summit today, I'm looking to see. Okay, yeah, I took notes. I just want to make sure that these were all the notes that I took. The first speaker was Dr. Barbara Rolls. And the takeaways from her presentation, the first one was the surprising fact of water reducing the calorie density of a food. That even includes higher fat foods. But the water has to be incorporated in the dish. The study that she and her colleagues did took the exact same ingredients and made it. Okay, they took some ingredients and made a soup. And then they used the exact same ingredients, except for instead of making it a soup, they made it into a casserole. And the third group, they took the casserole and also drank water with it. And the least calorie dense combination was the actual soup. Now, if you not for sure what calorie density is, you could look it up on the internet. But basically, calorie density is how many pounds of food, or how many calories a food has per pound. And the more calories it has per pound, the more calorie dense it is. So, you want nutrient dense food instead of calorie dense food. And the most dense calorie food is processed oil at, I believe it's 1,400 calories per pound or 1,000 calories per pound. Some astronomical amount. And then she talked about satiety and, being satisfied when you get done eating, and how to prevent overeating. And the big key from that one for me was the visual aspect of it. That if your plate looks full, even if it's fewer calories, you're going to feel more full when you get done eating. If you have a plate and it doesn't look very full, then you're going to be having thoughts that you're just not full. But also that variety in a food encourages overeating. You can still basically what that means is that the more options you have when you're eating, the more likely you are to overeat. So, you know, if you go to a buffet, when you where you have all the options, you know, you find yourself eating 2-3 plates of food, as opposed to going to a restaurant where you look at the menu, you pick one thing out and you eat just what you're served or just what you ordered. So you do eat less at a sit-down restaurant versus going to a buffet. And, you know, that can even happen with vegetables. It's a little harder because vegetables are bulkier foods and a lot more nutrient dense than calorie dense, but you can even do it with vegetables. In addition to water being incorporated in food to lower the calorie density, fiber also reduces calorie density. And then her final, or one of her final takeoffs was, and I've done this a long time ago, stop drinking your calories. You can drink so many more calories in a beverage, or consume. Let me back up. You can consume so many more calories when you're drinking them than when you're eating them. So that's another reason why I primarily drink just water. You know, and of course, she said that, you know, you can still eat some of your favorite foods, but bulk them up with vegetables. And, you know, Barbara Rolls isn't necessarily a whole foods plant-based diet, but a doctor or proponent. But she's done a lot of work in the area of calorie density. And so now, yeah. So then the next speaker was Dr. James Hill. And he and a colleague started the National Weight Control Registry in 1992. And his presentation was mostly on what he's learned from people that have joined the registry. To join the registry, you must have lost at least 30 pounds and kept that 30 pounds off for a minimum of a year. So, you know, you could have lost 50 pounds and gained 20 back, but as long as those original, as long as those 30 pounds are still off after a year, you can join the registry. And he said one of the most interesting things that he found among the members, the commonality is not how the weight was lost, but how the weight was kept off. And that commonality is that every single one of the members on the list, well, maybe not everyone, 93%. I knew I had that statistic there. 93% of those in the registry that have kept the weight off added exercise to their daily routines. And with the other studies, with the other work that he's done, he believes that this is the single factor that has helped keep the members keep the weight off. Sorry, I know what I want to say, it's just not coming out. And I've heard this before, not just from him, but other videos and presentations that I've seen, and that is that exercise does a better job at helping you keep the weight off than losing weight. Not for sure why, but and I'm sure he kind of explained that, but I was having to get up and stop every few minutes, so I didn't catch that. And then he did also talk about why obesity has become such a problem. And he said that the obesity rate jumped in the 1990s. And it wasn't our physiology that changed, it was our environment. It's simply that food is too readily available, too cheap, and we are just too sedentary. You know, prior to, you know, I'd say like in the 50s and the 60s and such, where there were a lot more farms and there weren't fast food on every single corner. If you wanted food, you know, you grew a lot of your own food. So you would have to go out into the fields or out into the garden and work the soil and plant and harvest, and you know, just you did a lot of work to prepare your food. Now, you know, you hop in your car or hop on your computer, either go drive or visit a website, order your food, and it's right there. And it's very high in calorie density and very low in nutrient density. But because of this new environment of food being too readily available and humans just being too sedentary now, obesity is your body's natural response to those changes. So that's my takeaway from Dr. Hill. Was one more thing. Chef AJ asked him about, well, she asks all of her guests what the truth about weight loss is. And his truth about weight loss is that he feels to have the most effect on improving overall health, you would need to lose a minimum of 10% of your body weight. You also need to figure out why weight loss is important to you, or getting healthier is more important to you. Well, weight loss is important to you. Because your reason is your motivation to stick to it. And usually the first 5 reasons that someone will give to him, he'll dismiss them, saying no. You need something that's more personal, more motivating. So it's just like, I want to lose weight because I want to be skinny. No. Because when you figure out the true reason why you want to lose weight or get more healthy, it is your motivation for keeping it off. And he also found that the people who do lose the weight and keep it off, the reason they do is because they pay more attention to their bodies, more attention to what they're doing, and they also are eating, and they incorporate some aspect of self-monitoring, such as weighing themselves, and they give themselves a range. Okay, so today I weigh 230 So today, I weigh 135. Well, next week I weigh 140. No, that's at my limit. So at 140, I'll, watch what I'm eating or what I'm doing, or, maybe I'll increase my exercise so that I can get back down to that 135. And, those numbers, of course, are random. The next speaker was Dr. Hannah Kaliova. That's right. I had to think about how Chef AJ pronounced it. Dr. Hannah Kaliova. And she talked a lot about fatty liver and insulin resistance because they go hand in hand. She said that 50% of the population have fatty liver but don't know about it. That there's no real treatment for fatty liver other than diet. And that the studies that she has conducted, she found that liver fat was reduced 34% after only 16 weeks on a low-fat vegan diet. 34%. So that means that your liver is going to be a third of the size it was. 1/3 less in size than it was just 16 weeks before. That's only 4 months. So in, 12 months, essentially, you're almost non-existent fat in your liver. And then she also said that studies have shown that when your body decides to store fat, it stores it first in your subcutaneous area. So that's like under your skin. But then those get full, and so the only place it has to store then is in your muscular tissue and your organs. And so then, but when you lose the weight, no, she didn't, never mind. I forgot what that was. And it's this storing of fat in your organs and muscles, which is called visceral fat, that causes insulin resistance. And she had a really good analogy about insulin resistance and a fireplace that does nothing but put out smoke because it's dirty. Essentially, when you have insulin resistance, she said that you have a gatekeeper to your cells, and that gatekeeper is the insulin. And when the sugar in your food comes knocking at your insulin, at your cell door, the insulin opens the door and lets the sugar in. But when you eat too much fat, the fat clogs those gates so that the insulin, it locks the gates. And so then the insulin cannot open the door to let the sugar in. So that's why a low-fat diet, and, when they say low-fat, what did she give a recommendation? No, she doesn't give a recommendation as far as what she would consider low fat. But from the other books that I have read by other whole food plant-based doctors, the fat should be 15% of your diet or less. Um, and then just, even though, and then just like with the fatty liver, and seeing a reduction in your fatty liver in, how many weeks did she say? Oh, yes, 16 weeks. In addition to the 34% reduction in liver fat in 16 weeks, a low-fat vegan diet also, within those same 16 weeks, is long enough to improve insulin resistance. Now, there are some changes that occur within hours of eating a meal, such as the low-fat meal. But to have more lasting and permanent effects, it takes 16 weeks. And then she did, be quite frank, and say that, people say, well, I'm fat because of my genetics. Your friends and family have more influence on you being overweight than genetics, which I thought was kind of interesting. Okay, and then the next speaker is someone that I listen to frequently. He mostly just told his story, but it's Chuck Carroll. He's the host of the Exam Room for the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Sorry, I had to think of the name of it. And he mostly just told his story of his, how he lost weight. He weighed over 420 pounds at his heaviest, and he was only in his 20s. He was put on blood pressure medicine in his teens because he was so overweight. And at his heaviest, he estimates he was eating a whopping 10,000 calories a day. And my jaw just dropped. I mean, I know I eat a lot of calories, but I think I topped out when I used to keep track of my calories and didn't care what I ate. I topped out at just under 3,000. And he was eating 3 times that amount. I'm like, I could never eat as much food as he did. And he said what it was is, I don't remember what he had for breakfast, but I know for lunch he said he went to Burger King, got 2 double cheeseburgers, the large fry, and the large soda. And then for an afternoon snack, he would go to the local convenience store and get 2 of their largest sodas and 5 of the buffalo chicken taquitos. Then for dinner, if that wasn't enough food, for dinner, the local pizzeria would have a special. Well, if you're in an office, if you buy 4 pizzas, we'll give you the 5th one for free. Well, he wasn't in an office, but he still ordered the 4 pizzas so he could get the 5th pizza for free. And he said he would usually eat 2, sometimes 2.5 of the pizzas. He didn't say what kind of pizzas. But still, I don't care if it's a thin crust, super thin, flaky crust, all vegetable pizza. 2 of them? No way. I couldn't do it. But even after having all that food, then he would go to Taco Bell and he'd have this order that was always $20. And he had it so frequently that the employees knew him by name. And he'd just say, $20 special. He's like, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, we know. Here's your order. We know what you want. It's $20. I never, in as much fast food as I worked, I never had anybody that was like that. Never. The only the only thing I remember was there was this one local TV personality used to come in every single morning, and she would get a large unsweetened tea. And, you know, I would know who it was, and we'd say, $1.25. At that time, they're still only $1, so $1.25. Here you go. Thank you. Have a good day. Every day she'd come get her tea, though. And then the last presenter was a chef, and at this point I was getting kind of tired of listening, and she was cooking. She's from India, and she was cooking some kind of Indian dish, some kind of soup. But instead of talking about what was in the recipe, she was just talking about, growing up in India. So I kind of got bored with it, not just because it's from India, not because she's from, but just at that point, I wasn't getting anything out of it. At least, I wasn't getting education out of it at that point. So I quit watching. But that's it for today as far as what I got out of it. Now, I did also this evening, I watched Tom and Tammy from Nutmeg Notebook. She's going to be a speaker next Sunday during the summit. And every Sunday night they have a live stream. So I was watching her live stream, and she did get a few more things out. Dr. What was her name? Kaliola. She did get a few more things out of it. So I can put a link to her live stream their live stream in the description box below. So if you want to see what her take on the summit was for today, you can listen to that. She also demonstrates what she and Tom had a special Valentine's dinner that was sent to her. So, she cooked that and was talking about what they had. Well, that's it for me for today. Camera stopped recording twice, so we're kind of pretty long in length. But, I'm really enjoying most of the summit. Learning some things I didn't know before. But I hope that you're also enjoying following me every day on my video diary journey. And please comment, like, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that when I upload the video every day, you'll know that I've done that, and you can, know that, hey, it's time to watch vegetables. In the meantime, I do hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.